In the span of just a few decades, China has gone from being a country primarily importing cars to one of the world's largest and most influential car manufacturers. What began as an industry built on imitation has evolved into a global powerhouse of automotive design, technology, and innovation. Today, Chinese automakers not only dominate the domestic market, but are rapidly expanding their influence overseas. This is the story of how China's car industry rose from humble beginnings to become a global leader. The story of the Chinese car industry begins in the late 20th century, in the years following China's economic reforms under Deng Xiaoping. In the 80s and early 90s, China was still a relatively closed market, but the government was eager to modernize and build up its domestic industries. The first steps towards a car manufacturing sector began with joint ventures with foreign automakers. Brands like Volkswagen, General Motors, and Toyota all set up shop in China, attracted by the vast untapped market and the government's policies aimed at modernizing the economy. These joint ventures were crucial for knowledge transfer, as Chinese workers learned the ropes of car manufacturing by leveraging the expertise of these foreign companies. But in the beginning, Chinese car makers weren't producing their own designs. Instead, they focused heavily on imitation. Car companies like Geely, Chery, and Great Wall Motors would reverse engineer popular foreign models and adapt them for the Chinese market. This period of imitation wasn't limited to the car designs themselves. Chinese manufacturers would also focus on replicating foreign manufacturing processes. The cars produced were often seen as less sophisticated, but they were affordable and sufficient for the emerging middle class in China. The government's push for domestic manufacturing, combined with a rapidly growing customer base, created an environment ripe for this kind of industrial growth. And by the early 2000s, China's auto market exploded, becoming the world's largest car market in 2009, surpassing even the United States in terms of production and sales. But the road to global dominance wouldn't come easy, and to truly compete globally, Chinese companies had to move from imitation to innovation. In the 2010s, a significant shift occurred within China's car industry. Domestic automakers began heavily investing in research and development. Companies like BYD, Geely, and SAIC Motor began creating original designs and improving the quality of their vehicles. At the same time, China's rapidly expanding middle class was demanding more from their cars, including better features, fuel efficiency, and more stylish designs. One of the key turning points came with BYD. Originally a battery maker, BYD transitioned into producing electric vehicles in the early 2000s, and eventually became a major player in China's shift towards new energy vehicles, which soon began to rival traditional automakers. Through its unique designs, BYD was positioning itself as a key innovator in the sector, even expanding its reach globally, establishing production plants in countries like the United States, Brazil, and India. Moving north and headquartered in Hangzhou, Geely started out as a refrigerator part manufacturer, but began mass-producing cars in the early 2000s. Initially focused on small, cheap cars, the company began to make strategic moves to position itself as an international player. In 2010, Geely purchased Volvo, the Swedish automotive brand known for its safety and design. But this acquisition wasn't just about gaining access to Volvo's models. It was about gaining expertise in European automotive engineering and design, something Geely could leverage for its own future models. By the mid-2010s, companies like NIO, XPeng, and Li Auto all began to disrupt the market with sleek, technologically advanced electric vehicles aimed at the high-end consumer. NIO in particular became known for its premium electric cars like the ES8 and ES6, which were seen as direct competitors to Tesla in China. These newer companies focused not on just the vehicles themselves, but on the entire user experience. NIO, for example, introduced the concept of battery swapping stations, a unique solution to the long charging times associated with electric cars. As China's focus shifted towards electric vehicles, government policies began to favor this sector, providing tax breaks, incentives, and support for companies that focused on EVs, driving the shift towards electrification across the country. A situation in which China has now become the largest EV market in the world, with around 11 million electric vehicles sold in 2024 alone. As China's automotive companies began to perfect their craft, they set their sights on the global stage. No longer content with dominating the domestic market, Chinese automakers began exporting their cars and electric vehicles to Europe, Southeast Asia, and even North America. Perhaps the most notable success story is BYD, which is battling with Tesla to become the world's largest producer of electric vehicles. With its focus on affordability and practicality, BYD's cars have been rapidly adopted in the markets across the world, including Europe, where its entry into countries like the UK and Germany has shaken up competition. Likewise, Geely's acquisition of Volvo allowed the company to introduce high-end models to the global market. This paved the way for the company's launch of Polestar, an electric performance brand, and the expansion of its presence in countries like the US, where its Polestar 2 model has gained a strong following. Another rising star is XPeng Motors, which has successfully expanded into markets like Norway and aims to enter the US soon. XPeng's cars, like the P7 and G3, are often compared to Tesla in terms of their technological prowess and performance, but they come with a Chinese price tag, more affordable than most of their competitors in the EV space. At the same time, NIO has made significant strides in global expansion, entering markets in Europe, including Norway, with plans for further growth in the region. Their premium vehicles, such as the NIO ES8 and EC6, have garnered attention for their design, range, and battery swapping technology. As these companies push into foreign markets, it's important to note that they're not just selling cars, but building global brands. An expansion backed by massive investment. Despite their successes, the rise of the Chinese car industry hasn't been without challenges. Western markets, especially in Europe and the US, have historically been dominated by well-established brands like Volkswagen, BMW, Ford, and General Motors. For Chinese automakers to succeed abroad, they must navigate regulatory hurdles, cultural differences, and the ever-increasing competition in the electric vehicle market. In the United States, for example, Chinese car brands face significant challenges. Prior and potential new tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on Chinese goods will make their cars less competitive in the market, whilst concerns remain around security and data privacy, which could slow down penetration of Chinese brands into the US market. A stigma around the quality of Chinese cars remains in the minds of many Western consumers, although no doubt this is starting to change. Whilst the government subsidy-fueled EV boom has led to large amounts of waste and serious environmental issues. The rise of the Chinese car industry is a story of transformation, from imitation to innovation, from domestic dominance to global aspirations. Today, Chinese automakers are shaping the future of the automotive industry, pushing the boundaries of technology, affordability, and design. With their focus on cutting-edge technology, Chinese car companies are setting the stage for the next phase of the global car revolution.